Significant storms in our area right now. Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. You're home for Caribbean weather. It's great to see you on this Thursday. I hope you're doing well. Several areas of impactful weather for the day ahead. We'll talk about what's happening the first week of July tropically and some big time Saharan dust moving back into our area. We're going to start off the video with some thunderstorms developing at the hour over portions of the northern side of the Bahamas. Now, these storms are along the old boundary which potentially had that tropical development area earlier this week off of the east coast of Florida. That's not going to happen, but this is still going to be an impactful system and bring some strong storms to portions of the northern and northwest Bahamas, including Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, the Abacos, Bimini, Andros, Nassau, New Providence, and Eleuthera. These are the islands with the best opportunity for thunderstorms for today. Watch out for some locally heavy downpours. Can't rule out a brief waterspout or a funnel cloud to go along with some gusty winds kicking up sea conditions from time to time. If you guys live in these areas, you've been impacted by some of the showers and storms, let me know in the comments section below what you're seeing. Additional activity is likely through the remainder of this Thursday, and more storms are also possible on Friday as well. This boundary will wash out over the weekend, but until it does so, it's going to provide a better chance for some storms, and some of those could be on the strongest severe side. So if you are a boater, keep that in mind as well. You'll see some information on our information hub at the bottom of your screen. If you do live in the Bahamas, some actions you want to be taking. Scattered rain could still develop in portions of the central Bahamas, but it's going to be a little bit less than areas to the north. One reason why is there is a Saharan air layer that is still impacting this region, and there is more to come. So you got to get closer to this boundary to overcome some of the drier air that's currently into place. But I'm not going to rule out a couple of showers from time to time for the southern half of the island chain, and then back into places like Grand Turk and the Caicos. Now, another area that is seeing some significant storms today are going to be our friends in Puerto Rico. So that's going to be our next vantage point to jump into right now. Thunderstorms developing at the hour, especially on the northwest side of the island. We've had flood advisories in effect for places like the Aguadilla area. Now, depending on when you're watching this, those flood advisories could be expired, but the bottom line is we've had some 2 to 4 inch rainfall totals on the northwest side of Puerto Rico, which has led to some localized flooding for today. I mentioned it in yesterday's video. The storms over Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, they're very concentrated. They're very isolated in nature. There's not a lot of them at the hour, but when they do develop, they are on the stronger side. So keep that in mind. And some locally heavy downpours are likely to continue with this. I can show you the live radar here out of Puerto Rico so you get an idea of where the thunderstorms are. Let me bring on the radar for you right now and show you that in real time. There we go. So you'll see the storms right here. Again, Uti Alto, south of Arecibo, Aguadilla, San Sebastian, over the Mona Passage, heavy thunderstorms there, and then they'll drift into the eastern side of the Dominican Republic, where once again, places like Punta Cana, La Romana, San Pedro de Macorís, Santo Domingo, all have the opportunity for more significant storms for today, and this continues to be an area where flood warnings will persist. We're still having massive thunderstorms for today in these areas. So flooding, especially in interior sections. But I got to tell you something. The thunderstorm count today is more than what it has been. Look at this live lightning count I have for you guys. Over the past 15 minutes on this Thursday afternoon, we've had over 1,200 lightning strikes across Hispaniola at the hour. So heavy rainfall, maybe up to 100 millimeters in a couple of spots. I'm talking about 4 inches of rain in some areas of the island. So if you do live across the Dominican Republic, especially interior locations, make sure that you stay weather aware. You can clearly see that there's a mid-level spin just north of the islands, which is feeding in some of that moisture and lift in the atmosphere. And that's why Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and portions of Haiti have been under the gun for some stronger storms. I'm expecting additional showers and storms to develop later today across portions of Jamaica. We've had some of that activity on the western side of the island earlier today. Once again, interior hilly parishes have had the best chance for storms, but we've had a few try and drift over into Grill, Sav Lamar, back down towards Lucy. Again, isolated. for the most part earlier today, but additional thunderstorms are likely to develop across the island later. Not expecting a lot of rain for the Cayman Islands. We're going to try and pop off a brief thunderstorm here or there. You can see one trying to develop over Grand Cayman on the west side, west end, just as we're coming on the air here. A few thunderstorms are likely over interior sections of Cuba. Going to favor kind of the far eastern side of the island, and then the western side of the island, Havana areas off towards the west. Now, drier air is still into play over portions of the Leeward Islands for today. We're going to get some breezy conditions for the Virgin Islands as well. Places like Roatan, Tortola, and St. Thomas and St. Croix should still expect winds of over 30 miles an hour. I'm going to bring on the visible satellite imagery. You can clearly see the brisk easterlies that we have into play. Now, this whole scenario goes with the fact that we have a pretty significant tropical wave that is just east of the Leeward Islands right now, and that's going to be driving in. It's going to be fighting some Saharan air, but that opportunity is going to be there to provide some shower chances over the weekend. So if you've been desperate for some rain in some of these spots, you can see the cloud coverage beginning to move in. This will also elevate sea conditions from time to time. It's not going to be an outrageously rough environment, but I would expect some additional small craft advisories from Antigua, Barbuda south, including places like Barbados, maybe back down towards the St. Vincent and Grenadines area as well. But again, extra cloud coverage for today. Opportunity for a few showers for Antigua, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique. Scattered showers for St. Lucia. Again, moisture coming back out of the south, helping to aid into this. And we're going to delve deeper into our next tropical wave, because this is the first one that I've seen this season that actually is going to have more influence and better moisture available. Not going to develop as far as anything organized, but heavier rain chances back on the board. You'll see some of that in the 5-day forecast at the bottom of your screen. Rain is already breaking out at the hour over portions of Trinidad, up towards Tobago. If you've had some rain in Trinidad today, let me know. 30-mile-an-hour wind in Port of Spain. It's going to try and get towards Grenada, Nueva Esparta, maybe the southern sides of the Grenadines, including the Carriacou areas. Wish we'd be talking about more rain for the ABC Islands, but it's still about the heat, it's still about the breeze and the elevated sea conditions. Willemstad, Curacao earlier today had over a 30-mile-an-hour breeze. Now, I'll be monitoring the situation in the Western Caribbean as well. Our Central American gyre certainly firing up. We'll talk more about the East Pacific coming up here, but just look at the loads of thunderstorms developing here. Additional heavy and flooding rains are likely for portions of Panama and Costa Rica, including San Jose. They'll favor the Pacific coastline rather than the Caribbean, but still, the opportunity will exist. And this will feed in some moisture, believe it or not, from the south and west, drifting up over places like El Salvador and Honduras on over towards Guatemala and Belize, where Belize City, Roatan, Utila, Guanaja likely to see a little bit better chance for a few showers and storms in that area in the coming days. Okay, friends, we're going to get to the forecast part of the video. As we do so, I appreciate you guys taking a quick second and hitting that subscribe button for me if you want these daily forecasts. All of this information readily available at your fingertips on this screen. I appreciate you hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all of our friends who are also members of the channel. Again, a lot of perks come your way there if you want to check it out. Next headline I want to deal with when we're talking about what's going to be happening is the Saharan dust. It's going to be a factor for the coming days. Take a look at the next plume moving over the Eastern Pacific and the Western Atlantic early next week, and then flaring up all the way deep into the Gulf. Now, a secondary, even bigger concentration of Saharan air is likely to move in about a 7 to 9 day time frame. So the second weekend of July, look at that Saharan air layer impacting a lot of the Antilles, both lesser and greater, into Turks and Caicos and Bahamas. Even more concentration, northern latitudes into the Atlantic. Have to monitor that. Now, it will thin out a bit as it gets towards Quintana Roo and Central America, but you're looking at a big layer that's going to be impacting our weather ahead. So continuing to be something that we're going to have to monitor here at Meteo Mundo, just for the fact that it's going to likely limit the opportunity for some showers, bring up some hazy conditions for respiratory sufferers, and also the opportunity here that we could also drag in some breezy conditions to go along with it. I'm going to bring on your marine forecast as well. It's for over 25 major harbors, major cruise ports, and fishing areas of interest. keeping an eye on those water temperatures like in Nassau, well into the lower 80s Fahrenheit now. So let's talk about what's going to be happening tropically over the week ahead. Obviously, right now, things are on the quieter side, and that's what we would typically see in an El Nino. I do want to bring on the visible satellite imagery just to show you that we still have this spin situated off the United States East Coast. Now, the European ensembles are still holding on to the opportunity that this could develop into something extremely weak. The Hurricane Center has let that opportunity go by the wayside, but this could still bring some impacts, surf and sea conditions, and some locally heavy downpours to portions of the United States East Coast and the northern Bahamas over the 4th of July weekend. When I show you guys the ensemble members of the European model, you'll see a little blip here or there from time to time. Not expecting development. Where is the European model really starting to crank things up again? What else is new? It's the East Pacific. We already have some activity right now, and the European model is likely to show additional activity over the weekend with potentially another named storm developing by next Monday and Tuesday. But for the western basin of the Atlantic, the Gulf, the Caribbean, we're looking pretty good. Again, there's your ensemble members saying, I'm trying to hold on to a low chance. Not likely to happen. We typically see a bias in the European model with the Central American gyre and the spin it produces in the Southwest Caribbean. I'm discounting that, but there's your locally very high chance for development as we get into early next week, which could be in the 80 to 90% range. And you can already see that the atmosphere is juiced up. Just as a reminder, we do have another named system out here right now. This is Douglas, the 4th named storm of the East Pacific hurricane season. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but additional likely activity with all of this that's developing should be coming our way as we head into mid next week. Always monitoring the situation as far as our tropical waves. They're looking slightly better organized into early July. They're likely to not hold together as they traverse the Western Atlantic basin this time of the year. And remember, on the northern sides, they're still fighting the Saharan air, and that is still the bigger story for most of our latitudes, areas far enough north from the Windward Islands where we would start to see these traverse through. Now, there's always still the opportunity for something a little bit more locally grown, right? There's that nice little mid-level spin here. That's not tropical in nature as far as becoming a low-level center of circulation, but look at the impacts it's bringing. Look at the spin and look at the thunderstorms that it's developing through a lot of our areas. So we will have some impacts when it comes to things like that. So moving on right now, I'm going to bring back on a marine forecast as well. We'll get into your rain outlook and how I expect things to play out over the next 5 days. So let's break that down for you guys. We'll look at a couple of the different models for you here. We'll start off with the GFS and just throw that into motion. Once again, I am expecting the tropical wave that is currently in the Caribbean to continue to traverse off towards the west, and this is going to bring some localized heavier downpours from time to time. Rain chances should improve for places like Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, the central and the southern sides of Central America, compared to what we've been seeing. Now, it's not great news for Panama and Costa Rica, still inundated in rain, trying to drive a few showers up towards Belize City. And again, part of this is the potential development in the eastern Pacific and just that broader expanse of moisture developing and lifting off to the north and to the east, where some of our area could catch the northeast extent of that. Additional heavy rain is likely to continue over the Dominican Republic. I don't see these flood advisories on a daily basis, these flood warnings going away. Again, some areas, maybe 1 to 2 inches, 25 to 50 millimeters on a daily basis, but some areas could see locally up to 100 millimeters or 4 inches every day. Higher elevation rain leads to quick low flooding of low-lying areas. Got to watch out for that. The scattered showers will continue here. Cooling rains for Puerto Rico and portions of the Virgin Islands. Once again, it's very concentrated, so the opportunity for some localized flooding will be in store right on through our weekend. Scattered rain, but better quality coming back into the eastern side of our areas. So higher totals are possible, especially in the central and the southern side of the Lesser Antilles, back down towards the Windward Islands. A little bit lighter rain totals in Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, places like St. Kitts and Nevis. All right, more active weather again for the northwest Bahamas. Still going to see some localized heavier downpours from time to time as we get into Friday and then into our Saturday. Of course, for the United States, that's 4th of July. It's such a big day. And I got to tell you something again, that retrograding mid-level low is likely to bring some fairly heavy widespread rain to the Carolinas, Georgia, and the peninsula of Florida. If you live in Orlando, you live in Miami, Key West, you're viewing us from Florida, get prepared for a very wet, stormy weekend. It's not a complete washout for 4th of July, but it's not much better than that, unfortunately. About a 70 to 80% chance for showers. Those kind of rain chances will be with the northern Bahamas on Friday and then weakening a bit. Scattered showers for the central and the southern side of the island chain. This is what it looks like on the European model over the next 5 days, rainfall total-wise. There's that next push of moisture. Again, we're fighting some Saharan air to the north by that localized spin, providing good rain totals. Hispaniola, portions of Puerto Rico. There's your higher totals, central southern sides of the Florida Peninsula, northern side of the Bahamas. The building rain chance up through a lot of the portions of the southern sides of Central America, and some spotty, locally heavier rain for portions of Jamaica. Large wind and strong wave advisory continues for Jamaica. Other small craft or swell advisories for additional areas. That is likely to stay for about the same areas. I do expect, for the most part, things are looking pretty good for, let's say, the exposed waters of the Atlantic side for Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. Bahamas, Turks and Caicos look pretty good. That's some fresh wind coming in. Remember, that's an El Nino. You have really strong surface winds in the Caribbean. It rips up low-level centers trying to develop, but it does elevate sea conditions a lot from time to time. So again, we're going to be watching some heavier thunderstorms over a lot of our island chain the next couple of days. Northwest Bahamas included in that. Brisk easterlies coming in, and the next slug of tropical moisture will be fighting that Saharan air, especially in our northern areas. Friends, I'm out of time. Thank you for making Meteo Mundo a part of your daily routine. Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from. If you do have a question, drop it in the forecast section as well. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow with the latest.